Hey, I hope you're doing great today, and you are listening to the Fatboy Show on your number one station, RX Radio. I do hope you're keeping well and you are keeping safe. You better be. We're living in very, very violent times. I mean, there is the war in Ukraine, the Russian invasion. And over in Kenya, our next door neighbor, there's violence on the streets. Young people protesting against the excruciatingly high commodity prices and the cost of living. The footage we've been seeing coming out of Nairobi has been horrific. I mean, police essentially barging into people's homes, dragging them out and arresting them. These are scary times we're living in. But the violence doesn't stop there. There is another war that's been ongoing, and I don't know if it's ever going to end, at least not anytime soon. And I'm talking about the gender war. Thankfully, for the most part, the gender war that's ongoing is more of a rhetorical war. It's a war of words between the genders, with women saying this about men and men saying the other. Mostly though, at least from my perspective, the ire and the hatred and the shaming is mostly being directed at men from women, and we're here just fielding them off. You know, the barrages of rockets that they're firing at us, the rhetorical rockets, mostly in the form of shaming. And what do I mean by shaming? You see, ladies are very clever at manipulating men emotionally. Some people like to say that women have more emotional intelligence. They understand what makes a man tick, and they know the kinds of things to say to a man to disarm him and to make him doubt himself and to make him feel bad about himself. Ladies will typically do this when they want you to do their bidding. But of course, in 2023, they're quickly realizing that those tactics don't work anymore. I am going to present to you on today's program a snarky, weird video in which a woman is engaging in yet more shaming of men, this time as it pertains to the desire of a lot of men to date women that are much younger. You've seen all the heat Leonardo DiCaprio has been catching in the last several weeks about how he'll never date, or he tends to not date women over 25 as a man approaching 50. And for that, he is labeled creepy and a predator even, and all kinds of scary words they used to describe him and men like him who prefer younger women. Of course, in the modern era, there are lots and lots of ladies in their 30s and 40s and even 50s who are single. Usually women who've come out of long-term relationships or who have been divorced. And so there's a lot of them out there that are still looking for love, and they get frustrated when they encounter men that want to date younger women. And so what is their response? Do they try to improve themselves in ways to outcompete the 25-year-olds? You know, since you can't compete when it comes to age, perhaps you can compete when it comes to attitude, when it comes to compatibility, when it comes to being more pleasant, maybe your cooking skills, your nurturing skills, you know, doing what a normal person does in a marketplace where there's stiff competition. You try to be better than the other person. What you don't do is to try to shame your customer into purchasing you. And pardon the analogy, you might think it's inappropriate that I'm referring to men as customers. What would they be buying in this case? But you get the point. Women have something that men want. So how should women get men to be interested in it? By improving it or them or the product, or by shaming us into going for it? So this next video is hilarious. Once again, a woman engages in shaming of men who prefer dating younger women. Take a listen to this.
The real reason why men date younger women is not because of their physical appearance, their bodies. No, because today with plastic surgery and everything else, you barely know who is 40 and who is 18. Guys date younger women because they're easily manipulated. They're gonna be very happy with a few crumbs because maybe they didn't experience much in the world. They're gonna be just easily impressed. And it's way cheaper to date a younger girl.
That's it? And that's supposed to be a bad thing? Like, am I as a man supposed to listen to this woman's words and feel ashamed for having chosen to date a woman that is younger because apparently they're cheaper to date? In which universe is it ever considered to be an unwise decision to opt for something that is more affordable? Isn't that why eBay is popular? Isn't that what we do when we go on the internet? We look for the best deal at the best price. Once again, pardon the analogy if we're once again reverting to commodity and trade in describing relations between men and women. But essentially, it's the same thing. It's demand and supply. One party has something the other party wants. It's about how you negotiate the terms and conditions of the exchange, right? So, young women, according to this lady that made this video, apparently are cheaper to date. How is that not a good thing? Because if you are essentially pricing yourself out of the market, as this woman seems to want to do for women of her age, well then, you're not going to find any willing and happy customers. It's your loss. So, I mean, try selling a house, try selling a car, try really even demand a salary that is way higher than what the market can sustain. What'll happen? You won't get hired, you won't sell your car, and you won't sell your house. That's just how it works. So I see no reason as to why any man should feel any shame after being told that the reason he would want to date a younger woman is that because they're cheaper to date. And why would dating a woman have to be an expensive proposition in the first place? It would be expensive because they probably want to be wined and dined in fancy places and be taken to expensive locations, which, by the way, I can attest to the fact that that is indeed true. You see, when we date women that are older or closer to us in age, and I'm a man that's almost 50 years old also, I'll tell you that the older they get, the higher their, the more expensive their tastes. Partly because a lot of them have been working themselves and have had jobs and careers. And so at least when it comes to the more, basic pleasures of life, they've been able to afford them for themselves. Meaning, when they're looking around for a man to settle with, they're usually looking for a man that's going to offer them more than they can offer themselves. So that a trip to the ice cream parlor isn't going to be sufficient. A nice lunch at a cozy cafe is not going to be sufficient. She's going to want to be taken out of the country. She's going to want to go to an exotic location. She's going to want something really, really fancy. I have spent tons of money in dating situations and relationships with women that are older and with women who even have money. They are actually quite expensive. And look, in Kenya, people are protesting the high cost of living. Everywhere in the world, people are struggling economically. The one thing you don't want to do as a woman is to approach the dating market with a high price tag. I think most men are just going to turn the other direction and opt for a more affordable option, which in this case are younger women. Secondly, on the point about how we want women that we can manipulate because they are younger. Well, if by manipulate you mean they are more amenable, that also is a good thing. Why would I want to partner with a woman who is hard-headed, who can't be told what to do, will always want to do things her way? Why do I need her in my life? I don't need that. And I don't mean that in a negative way even. I have nothing to contribute to her life. If she doesn't feel like she needs a man to provide leadership in her life, and a man to whom she can offer her love and respect, then I don't need her and she doesn't need me. If all she needs is for a guy to essentially kiss her butt, do whatever she wants, edify her, glorify her, treat her like what she thinks she needs to be treated, which I don't even know what it is. There's plenty of guys that can do that. Guys who are jobless, young men with no prospects, with no income, with no status, who are happy to do the bidding of these women. Yeah? Oh, they're never going to try to manipulate you. The 25-year-old stud you're going to meet at the bar or at some party somewhere. Yeah, you'll tell him to do whatever you want him to do, and he will do it. After all, what choice does he have? You be calling all the shots. So instead of trying to shame older men who have the option of dating women that are more compliant and more willing to fit into their lives, you would instead just turn your attention to those who are more compliant to your needs and to your demands. Problem solved. See, we can just be like two ships sailing in the night, opposite each other and pass each other by and not cause each other any problems. Why wouldn't you want to do that? I'll tell you why you don't want to do that. That's because you're upset that we, the High-earning men with status don't want you. You are envious of the 25-year-old girl that can attract our interest. You're tired of being in relationships with F-boys and young studs, you know. You hate being a cougar because you can't show this guy off. You can't go to a fancy cocktail party or some event with some little boy that you picked up from a nightclub because most of your friends will think of you as not being worthy enough to attract the commitment of a high status man, which is why a lot of ladies do enjoy dating men that are of high status, you know, the whole hypergamy thing, because you get to show the world that you have such value that a man of such a caliber would be interested in you. And for that reason, you would want a man like that. And so you're upset that we're not lining up to date you, and you would rather us be shamed into relinquishing our interest in the younger ladies who are more compliant, who are more affordable, and instead hook up with you who is more expensive, who is less compliant, more of a headache. You have mileage up the wazoo. You have a you have a body count that would cause a mortuary to envy you. There's that many skeletons in your closet. You want us to date you instead. Well, no, thank you, lady. We'll take a pass on that. Feel free to shame us to your heart's content all day long, shame us. In 2023, shaming does not work, and men are now going to be doing what they want to do. If you want to say we're predatory, if you want to call us, what is it that you call us? You call us manipulative. That's okay, because when we are alone in the room with that young lady with a beautiful taut body and firm breasts and beautiful skin and compliant attitude, we feel like we have so much peace in our lives, and we don't have to deal with you.